This is Amud Yomi Gemara and Shabbos Daf Kov Chof Aleph Amud Aleph, and we're going to begin with the Mishnah about 10 lines down. Says the Mishnah, Nachri Shabbat Chabot, a guy that comes to extinguish a fire. There's a fire in a Jewish home on Shabbos, and a guy comes on his own accord to put it out. Ein oimrim loy kabeh. You can't tell him, put out the fire. Val techabeh. But you also don't have to tell him, don't put out the fire. Why? Because a guy resting, his responsibility is not upon us. And from here we're seeing that in as much, of course, there's the Isser of Amir La'akum. One is not allowed to tell a guy to do malacha. And of course, there's the additional restriction on stopping a guy for doing malacha for you. But at some level, the shvisa, the resting, the cessation from malacha of a guy is not in your domain. Therefore, you're allowed to let him put out the fire. But let's say you have a fire and a child comes to extinguish a fire. We're not allowed to listen. We cannot let him put out the fire. The shvis of a child is upon us, a detail which already is a chiddush. Many think, what do you mean? You're allowed to let a child do whatever you want. You can tell the child to turn off the light. As we see over here, there's a raging fire and you're not allowed to let the kid put out the fire. Omar Rav Ami, says the Gemara, but the lake atir loymar, in a fire, there's a special heter for one to say, if there are goyim around, kol ha'machabe einay mafsid. Anyone who puts out this fire will not lose. Meaning, you're allowed to let them know you'd be happy for them to put out the fire. You're going to reward them for doing such. Let's bring a raya. So from here, from our Mishnah, we can be madayik that we can't tell him to put it out. Be allowed to tell him whoever puts it out will not lose. Says the Gemara, but we have a contradiction in implications. What does it say in the Seifa? We do not tell him, do not put it out. Says the Gemara, but what did the Mishnah say? Do not tell him, don't put it out. So there we could imply as well. Maybe you cannot tell him as well. Says the Gemara, you don't have to stop him, but you clearly can't be proactive. So maybe you also cannot be proactive and say, concludes the Gemara, we have no raya from our Mishnah. We continue about 10 lines after the Mishnah, Tanu Rabbanan, with a story. There was a fire in Yosef and Shimai's courtyard in Shechem. The people of Gisra, the Roman government, came to put it out, and they because Yosef and Simai was the treasurer of the king. They covered Shabbos. He said, no, it's Shabbos, I'm not letting you put out my fire. A miracle happened, and rain fell and put out the fire. Later in the evening, he sent all the people from the government to Slayim. The lieutenant, he gave 50. He didn't need to do that. You don't tell him to put it out, nor do you tell him not to put it out. He felt bad from the fact that he had to stop them, and that's why he paid them. But says the Gemara, that's really not necessary, because in reality, as long as they go on their own volition, you're even allowed to let them put out the fire. We continue with the second half of the Mishnah, about 8 lines from the next Mishnah on this Amid. Shmas enough me we have a raya do we have a raya that if a katan is eating the velus bezin is obligated to stop him from doing it? Rav Yechanan, the katan sheishel das of him. No, it's no raya, because our Mishnah is not stam a katan doing it, and therefore you could have a raya to bezdin. Our Mishnah is the katan is doing it al das aviv, and that is the reason why you have to stop the child from doing it. Says the Gemara, and I'll tell you a right to this, the Kavasei Gabe Nachri. The same thing is with regard to a Nachri. And again, Rashi points out it's a katan that knows to differentiate that his father will be happy with this. And says the Gemara, the Raya is by a guy to Kavod Ladaita the Israel Mishari. Says Mara, wait. If you're telling me he's doing it al das him, so you're telling me the case of the guy is that he's doing it for the Yid? Says the Gemara, no, a loaded line, which of course has many, many implications. Nachri does it for his own benefit because he knows he's going to make money. He's not really doing it for the Yid. He's doing it so he gets the kickback. Now that's a very fine line. How to be machalik in cases, obviously is not simple, but let's leave it with that. And we'll begin the next Mishnah. You let it put, you have a nair, you let it put a bowl over the fire of the Ishlatechas Bekaira. Why? So that the fire doesn't go up and light up a beam on top of it. But again, you have to be careful that by covering it, you're not going to put it out. Meaning you're doing it as preventative. You're not putting out the fire, but you're preventing further damage. Val tzaya shall cotton, you let it put a bowl on top of the tzaya, the excrement of a child. Val akriv shall tishach, or a scorpion, so it does not bite. Omer Rav Yehuda, Maisel of Rav Yechon ben Zakeh be'erev, in the city of Arov, vein chayshla mechatas, and he did not. And he said, "Va'amar chayshani loy mechatas." I'm afraid of chatas, that he held that it was a mlach of trapping by covering over the akrib with a bowl on Shabbos. Says the Gemara, Rav Yehuda, Rav Yirmiyah, Rav Chanan bar Rav Klai lebei avin demin nashkia. They went to visit Rav Yehuda, Rav Yirmiyah bar Abba. Why? Because Rav Yehuda and Rav Yirmiyah bar Abba, as we turn over to Kof Chav Aleph, Amebes, Isolate per Asa. They, Rav Avin's servants, brought couches to sit on. The Rav Chanan bar Rav Lo Yislev. They didn't bring one for Rav Chanan bar Rav. Ashke Masa Lebrei. As they were there, Rav Chanan bar Rav saw Rav Ami learning a Mishnah to his son. Val Tzay shall cut him. They cut it. They allowed to cover over the tzaya for the child. Why? You don't want the kid to play with the tzaya. Amr later, Rav Chanan bar Rav said to Rav Avin, Avin nishati amasti shetusal b'nei. Avin the fool is teaching foolish stuff to his kid. Is like love him. What's going on over here? The tzaya is muchan for klavim. The klavim, the dogs, eat the tzaya, so it's not muksa at all. So what are you busy covering it over? You could go and you could just take it out. Maybe it wasn't ready before Shabbos. If you know something's going to happen, then it does not get the status of muksa. So says the Gemara, because you thought about it prior, so too you could expect the child to use the bathroom. And therefore, the fact that there are dogs there, they're going to go and nibble and eat at the tzaya. So therefore, it's not going to be muksa. It says the Gemara, then how should I teach the Mishnah? If the Mishnah is not talking about covering it over for the child, then what does the Mishnah mean? Our Mishnah, covering over the tzaya. It says the Gemara, and with that we'll pause and we'll pick it up from here. Says the Gemara, wait, why don't we say that the tzai is a grav shel rei? It's disgusting, it's repulsive, and therefore we'll give you an allowance even to take it out and move it on Shabbos. We'll pick it up from this detail of grav shel rei, b'siyata dishmaya.